Welcome to the Joy of Wargaming, where we talk about every aspect of this incredible hobby, miniature wargaming. Today we're going to do our first rules review, although we're going to be extra efficient and we're going to review 9 sets of rules all in one. We're actually looking at 1 Hour Wargames, a practical tabletop battles for those with limited time and space, by Neil Thomas. I've read a lot of books on miniature wargaming in my days, and this is one of the best. If you don't have a copy of this, I highly recommend you pick it up. There's something in it for everyone. On the one hand, it's an introduction. It's great for beginners. It includes a brief history, and he kind of outlines what his goal is with this. And his goal, yes, that's right, Archie. His goal is to present to the neophyte and the experienced wargamer alike a way of wargaming that can be done in limited time and limited space, hence the title, 1 Hour and Practical Battles. After setting up the situation, he then launches into the basic rule set. And the basic rule set is tweaked for 9 different eras, from ancient through World War II gaming. And the basic rules set, I have a handy dandy little cheat sheet here to make it a little easier for you. There are essentially 4 different types of troops for each of these rule sets. You've got your basic troops, you got your quick troops, your heavy hitters, and your shooters. The question is, what kind of flavor are you looking for? In the case of World War II, your shooters are mortars. They can do indirect fire. If you're looking at Dark Ages, they can't. In the case of Dark Ages, you may have a light cavalry, and in the medieval, you'll have knights. So each of those units is going to be mounted on a single block, such as, well, here, let me just show you mine real quick. I have a unit of knights handy, and he calls for 4 to 6 inches. I think mine are a little undersized. This particular block is irregular miniatures. It's a block of knights. And I use this for my medieval cheat sheet. So you're going to have up to 6 of these on the table at any one time. You can compile a whole army using just 10 units. We'll get to why in a little bit, but let's get through the rules, the basic rules themselves first. So every one of these blocks is going to have 15 hit points. Although, depending on the era, some troops, for example, in the medieval unit, the heavy infantry take half damage. So if you want to flip it around, you can consider them to have 30 hit points. They've got a lot more staying power, but they don't do as much damage. All you do is bash them at each other, and then once they're stuck in melee. And on your half of the turn, so the red team would go, and then the blue team. If you're on the red team and it's your part of the turn, you'll roll a d6. In this case, the knights, being the heavy hitters, do d6 plus 2 hit points to whoever they're attacking. Once you score 15 hits, you're done. Now, I made a cheat sheet with 6 slots for my 6 troops because I don't like casualty caps. I am a firm believer in visual appeal as everything, and I'd rather track things off chart and off spec. That's essentially all there is to the rules. With that aside, once you've picked your era, then we get into the real bonus in this book, and that is the 30 scenarios that Mr. Thomas provides. And each of these scenarios, he gives you just a quick map. They're all meant to be played on a 3x3 battlefield with a very limited selection of terrain. Flipping through, we see, roads and streams with bridges and towns, built up areas. But what's great is, because of the way the ratios work, you can use these for any rule system you want. Let's say you are a Warhammer 40K gamer. In this case, you've got the Blue Army deploys 4 units on this particular hill. Well, if you're playing a game of Warhammer 40K, that's a 1,500 point army for the, would be standard. Well, in this case, I'm only going to have the blue team run 1,000 points. The Blue Army has 6 units. Excuse me. Let's back up a step here. If the Red Army has 4 and the Blue Army has 6, then you're going to have a 1,000 point army for Red and a 1,500 point army for Blue. Well, then the Blue unit only deploys 1,000 points on the hill facing north. He deploys 500 points in Zone 1, which is down here in the corner. This is a shambolic command. It's meant to represent a blue army ordered to defend a strategic hill, except that it's hamstrung by appalling leadership. And so that appalling leadership is the fact that you've got a third of your army coming late to the battle. You can use this in any scenario, in any setting. Now, for the rules provided by Neil, he doesn't allow you to pick which of those 6 troops you've got. Remember I said you're going to need 10 blocks. That's because you're going to wind up having 4 of one type and 2 of the other 3. And then you'll roll on these charts. So, in the case of the example we were just looking at, the army that had 6 units, if we're doing the medieval, would roll a d6, and they might have up to 4 knights. They'll have 1 or 2 archers, 1 or 2 skirmishers, or I think they're levies, your peasant spearmen, and 1 or 2 men-at-arms. Those are your heavy boys. The unit with 4 units will have up to 3 knights, and then just 1 or perhaps 0 of the other 3. You march to war with a battle that Neil and the gods of the dice give you, not the army you want, which is a great way of reflecting the strategic command aspect of miniature wargaming in a very simple and streamlined manner. And if you don't have any idea which one of these you want to play, you can always just roll a single D30, and that's the battle you're going to play. In fact, when I run through a battle of these for you, that's probably how I'll select the battle. We'll let the great gods of randomness decide. With that out of the way, Neil goes over wargame campaign. Oh, I got to back up a step here because each of these scenarios, a lot of these are based on actual battles. Twin objectives. Austrian Field Commander Marshal von Braun gives an excellent account of the Battle of Lobositz. And then he provides additional reading. In fact, Neil provides additional reading for a lot of different eras and a lot of different aspects of miniature wargaming. He name-checks Don the Don of Wargaming Featherstone, and like any good author, he recommends a book by himself. Good marketing, Neil. Good call. He wraps up with a chapter on solo wargaming, and of course he's got an index, as all good rule sets do. He includes some lists of recommended model manufacturers. It's a great book. It's a great way, and particularly for those of you that have limited time or limited budget or even a limited amount of space, let me show you the setup that I built specifically to use with 1 Hour Wargames. Everything that I need fits into this box right here, including my knights. As you can see, it is a box only about 4 inches thick and about the size of a standard, what would you call it, ream of paper. In fact, I think that's what it's designed for. And then all of my terrain fits into the box. We'll look at it in a little more detail later. One of the things that I've done, because I am a fantasy wargamer at heart, I actually have 2 match sets. I've got the Necromancer King's Army, and here you can see a unit of heavy infantry. These figures are all from Irregular Miniatures over there in Britland. And he's got his own unit of knights. Let me get my damaged thumb out of the way. And in this manner, you can put together all 10 of your required units fairly cheaply, fairly attractively. And once you get them all arrayed out in their full panoply for battle, you're ready to go. I use fairly basic, somewhat cartoony terrain for this. The only thing that doesn't fit in the box is the drop cloth. So if I'm on the road and I have that itch to wargame, I just throw this in my suitcase, my drop cloth on top, and I am out of here. That's all I've got for you today. Highly recommend, if you don't already have a copy of Neil Thomas's 1 Hour Wargames, get your hands on a copy. It's available on Amazon. It's even available on Kindle for those of you that don't want to lug a big fat book around. That's all I've got for you today. Thanks for joining in. I hope I was able to keep you company as you got some paint on your lead. Thanks again. Have a great night, and God bless you all.